Hey everyone, Dr. Michael Breus, the sleep doctor here. I was recently on the Kelly and Mark show talking about sleep paralysis. This is a complex topic and there's only so much I could cover on national television. So let's talk about what is going on in your body when this happens, why it happens, and most importantly, what you can do when you experience it. Sleep paralysis refers to the inability to move your body as you're falling asleep or as you're waking up. The experience is one of being fully conscious and fully able to breathe, but you're paralyzed and you may even suffer from mild hallucinations. To be clear, your eyes will move around just fine and your lungs work, but literally everything else feels like it is frozen in time. I remember the very first time that I experienced sleep paralysis. It was kind of interesting. I was about 12, 13 years old. I had been woken up by kind of a loud noise and my arms were underneath my torso here, and I could look around, and when I tried to move my arm, nothing happened. I felt like my arms had fallen asleep. You know that tingly feeling when the circulation doesn't work? And then I noticed when I tried to move my legs that my legs weren't moving either. I did notice one thing, that the harder I fought against it, the longer it seemed to last. It's important to know that these situations are brief. They can be anywhere from like 15 to 45 seconds, even a minute. But I'm gonna be honest with you, it feels like when you're experiencing it, forever. To be clear, they are not dangerous. Though it can be quite disturbing, a lot of people think that there's something wrong medically with them, but I want to be very, very clear, this is not the case. This does not mean something bad is going to happen at any point in time. Sleep paralysis is classically defined as a sleep disorder. It's estimated that somewhere around the neighborhood of 20% of the population suffers from sleep paralysis, although it's often more common in people who suffer from narcolepsy. This is considered a parasomnia. Parasomnias involve abnormal experiences while you're sleeping or in that transition period between sleep and waking up or falling asleep. To understand sleep paralysis, we need to understand our sleep stages. We go through 4 stages each night. During one particular stage called REM sleep or REM sleep, our breathing becomes faster, our heart rate increases, and our eyes move rapidly back and forth. Hence the name rapid eye movement. But there's also something else that goes on during this stage. We have very vivid dreams. And our brain does something naturally. It paralyzes us so that we don't act out these dreams, okay? So REM sleep paralyzes our body so we don't go all over the place. Sleep paralysis occurs when the features or characteristics of REM sleep continue after you wake up. Now, it turns out that there are 2 different types of sleep paralysis. One is isolated recurrent sleep paralysis. This is basically multiple episodes of sleep paralysis that are unconnected to another sleep disorder or a medical condition. So they're not necessarily happening because of sleep apnea or narcolepsy, it's just sleep paralysis on its own. We know people who are sleep deprived are more likely to experience these episodes, as well as shift workers and people with unusual sleep schedules. Almost every time that somebody comes to me and says, Dr. Breus, I've had this sleep paralysis episode, one of the very first questions I want to know is, what is the quantity and quality of your sleep? Because if we improve that, usually the frequencies of these episodes has a tendency to go down. Now, sleep paralysis can be associated with another condition. Sometimes sleep paralysis is connected with other medical issues such as a mental health condition, a medical condition, or some medications or even some illicit drugs. Alcohol, amphetamines, and antidepressants all suppress REM sleep. So if you stop these meds abruptly, we know you're more likely to experience sleep paralysis. If you're taking one of those medications and you, boom, cold turkey yourself, that's gonna really more than likely set you up for a sleep paralysis. So number 1, you should never cold turkey yourself off of a medication. You and your doctor should be talking about how to taper off slowly. And of course, people with anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and bipolar disorder are also more susceptible to episodes of sleep paralysis. What levels up the anxiety is that about 75% of people who experience this also experience some kind of hallucination. So not only are you paralyzed, but you're seeing something over there and you're pretty sure it's not real. Some people experience an intruder hallucination, which is the sense that you're hearing, feeling, or seeing a dangerous person in the room. Then there's what's called incubus hallucinations, which involves feeling pressure on your chest. These often occur in the same time as an intruder hallucination, which makes it even scarier. There are also something called vestibular motor hallucinations. These hallucinations include imagined feelings of movement or an out-of-body experience. Now, many cultures have offered different interpretations of these experiences, often giving them supernatural names or explanations. So in China, sleep paralysis is called a ghost oppression. In Germany, it's called witches passing. And throughout Southeast Asia, it's described as pressing spirit. So we know that culturally, people have tried to figure out kind of what's going on. Most importantly, there are no long-term medical problems or complications caused by sleep paralysis. Now, I don't want to downplay the emotional experiences of sleep paralysis. It can be pretty disturbing and certainly trigger your anxiety. I have some patients who became almost fearful for sleep because they thought they were going to have a sleep paralytic event every time they fell asleep or every time they woke up. If you find that sleep paralysis episodes are causing to deepen your anxiety and worries about sleep, it's important to talk to somebody like me about that. But okay, if you're someone who experiences sleep paralysis, the good news is you can do something about it. There's no primary mode of treatment, but understanding the source of paralysis is really the place to start. First of all, since most of us experience sleep paralysis occur because someone is sleep deprived, it's important that prioritizing getting enough sleep becomes a big priority for you. Follow a good sleep hygiene and a strict bedtime and wake up time, and you should be in much better shape. Now, that's kind of the scheduling part, but could you end up having sleep paralysis from anything else out there? Absolutely. If something makes the quality of your sleep really poor, like caffeine, that can also induce a sleep paralysis episode. So do yourself a favor. As you've heard me say a zillion times, stop caffeine by at least 2 p.m. A few other things that you can do that will actually make the situation much better is, remember, I always say you need runway to land the plane. Give yourself some time to wind down before bed. Take a bath, read a book, listen to some soft music, but something that starts to get that feeling for you going that you're starting to feel sleepy, you're starting to feel relaxed. And look, if you need to, talk to a professional. Professionals can also address any underlying mental health conditions and provide more structured therapy that focuses on improving sleep habits as well as thoughts and behaviors. If you do encounter somebody who is having some form of sleep paralysis, what you want to do is stay within the range so that you can help them be safe, but you probably don't want to walk up to them and mess around with them because it's going to go away anyway. One of the most interesting sleep paralysis that I've ever seen was when I was actually on a trip with a few friends and we were sharing a bunk. And so we're sharing this bunk and all of a sudden this guy wakes up and I can tell he's struggling. He was an older gentleman, so at first I kind of became a little concerned, like, is he having a heart attack or something like that going on? And he looked very, very fearful. And when I walked towards him, he almost became very, very scared. And so I stepped back and all of a sudden I was like, oh, I think he's having a sleep paralysis attack. And sure enough, he came right out of it and he said, Michael, that was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. So being on the other end of that is very, very interesting. For more information on how to get back to sleep in the middle of the night, check out my video here. This is Dr. Michael Breus, the Sleep Doctor, wishing you sweet dreams and hopefully no sleep paralysis.